Welcome to Yerevan, the capital city of the mysterious country of Armenia. Now, most people, including myself, don't know all that much about this country, so let's go have a look around and see what's happening here in Yerevan, Armenia. Home to about 1 million people, Yerevan is the capital and largest city of Armenia. The area was settled over 5,000 years ago, making it one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the world. In this context, the fortress of Erebuni is often seen as the birthplace of Yerevan, and the city's modern name is also derived from that fortress. As such, the Armenian nation is one of the oldest on the planet. Traces of the highly unique Armenian language date back as far as 600 BC, and the Armenians later formed various kingdoms. At its largest extent in the 1st century BC, the kingdom of Armenia looked like this. So yeah, Armenia used to be much bigger than it is today, and in 301 AD it also became the first country in the world to adopt Christianity as its official religion. Apart from that, today's Armenian alphabet was created in the 5th century AD. Starting in the 12th century, Armenia became part of the Ottoman Empire, which it remained until the end of World War I. As you might know, the Armenians suffered immensely during that period, especially between 1915 and 1917. The events of those years are recognized as a genocide by over 30 UN member states, but some countries, including Turkey, dispute that definition. Armenia became an independent country in 1918, but that freedom lasted for only 2 years as it was incorporated into the Soviet Union in 1920. It remained a Soviet republic until 1991, when Armenia became independent once again. So what is Yerevan like today? Well, my first impressions are that the Soviet past is omnipresent, especially when it comes to architecture. There are some historic 19th century and older buildings, as well as modern embellishments, but the communist-era apartment blocks still dominate most of the cityscape. On a different note, Yerevan is a young, friendly and vibrant city, and there is quite a lot to see as well. We are now at the Cascade complex and Cafesjian Center for the Arts. The original design dates from the 1920s, but the structure was only completed in the 80s. It is a collection of terraced gardens with fountains, but as you can see, they weren't active during my visit. Inside, there are escalators and some art exhibitions. We are now walking up the Yerevan Cascade complex here, and yeah, this place is much bigger and much higher than it looks from a distance. The steps are very even though, so it isn't all that challenging, and apparently the view up top is worth it.
This is a good morning workout coming up here, and some people are actually jogging up and down. I guess it's a good location for free exercise. Don't need to pay for the gym if you run up and down here every morning. Alright, I have made it to the top, and yeah, the visibility isn't that great because when it's clear you can see Mount Ararat from here, and I can actually see it with my own two eyes right now, but I don't think that the camera will pick it up. However, it is early morning now, and I might come back later because the sky seems to be clearing up.
I did actually return for sunset twice, and the views were stunning. Mount Ararat was visible, but the skies were never 100% clear, so you could mostly admire its silhouette. The volcano is over 5,000 meters high, and it is believed to be the resting place of Noah's Ark.
So after reaching the top of the Cascade complex, you walk through this rather affluent looking neighborhood here, and then there is some kind of massive Soviet era park. I am at the monument now. This is a 65-meter high obelisk that commemorates 50 years of Soviet rule in Armenia, and it was built in 1967 when Armenia was of course a Soviet republic. And yeah, this entire square here and the monument itself just exude Soviet brutalism.
Next to the October Revolution monument, you have Victory Park, which is a pretty interesting location. On the one hand, there is an abandoned Soviet restaurant that you'll find on Google Maps for some reason. On the other hand, there is also a family-friendly amusement park which wasn't built in Soviet times. I visited at around 1 p.m, so there wasn't much going on, but I can imagine this being busy on a nice summer afternoon. And finally, we have the 51-meter-high Mother Armenia statue. It is a female personification of the nation of Armenia and symbolizes peace through strength. Next to it, you'll find an exhibition of military vehicles. Fun fact, this location originally had a Joseph Stalin statue which was constructed after World War II. That statue was removed in 1962, and 5 years later the Mother Armenia monument was erected in its place. I then returned to the city center, and it was time for a coffee break. I went to a place called Lumen, which is a coffee shop that has been operating since 1936. Needless to say, the coffee was delicious and the building oozes historical charm. For dinner, I went to a local food court where I got an Armenian-style pizza. This probably has another name, but it was basically a pizza with just meat. The taste was amazing and it was great value. As our first day in the Armenian capital is coming to an end, let me show you my accommodation. I was looking to try out something different, and I also wanted to meet some fellow travelers, so I stayed at a capsule hostel. It was a good experience overall, as the capsule had great soundproofing and the location was excellent. The nightly rate was unbeatable, so if you're looking for a place to stay in Yerevan on a budget, this is definitely an option worth considering. The first location that we're gonna cover on day 2 is the Vernissage Market. It is one of the main tourist attractions in the Armenian capital and has been operating for over 40 years. You can find traditional Armenian artworks here, carpets, and lots of other trinkets. I am not a big souvenir guy, but if you wanted to buy something, this is probably the place to come. I then took a ride on Yerevan's amazing Soviet metro. It was finished in 1981 and there is only one line with 10 stations. A one-way journey will set you back no more than 150 Armenian dram. Better still, both the stations and the carriages deliver the perfect vintage experience. We are now on Republic Square, which is the main square in Yerevan. During Soviet times, this place was called Lenin Square and it had a massive Lenin statue in the middle, but all of that has been gone for a while. Today, the square is home to some political institutions and the History Museum. I also went to have a look at St. Gregory Cathedral. Completed in 2001, it is the largest cathedral in Armenia. I then went to the Armenian Market, one of Yerevan's main food markets. They sell all kinds of spices and local delicacies, and you can watch how lavash, the traditional Armenian flatbread, is made. I can't show you the meat section because it wasn't all that YouTube friendly. I then had lunch at a restaurant called Untap, which some locals had recommended. I went for a lahma joe, which is again a bit like a pizza, but the dough and texture are different. I realized that this meal was rather similar to my dinner the previous day, but both dishes were excellent and a tea was included. The next morning, I went on a day trip that included Lake Sevan and Haghartsin Monastery. Both were super impressive and definitely worth checking out, but it was a group tour and I was a bit wiped out, so I didn't manage to film a full vlog. Anyhow, there is so much more to see in Armenia and many places can be visited on day trips from Yerevan. So, let's get to the main question. Is Yerevan worth visiting? I would say yes. It doesn't have as many sights as Tbilisi, for example, but it is a very charming and unique place. And if you are into Soviet nostalgia, you will not be disappointed here. 2 days are enough to see Yerevan, but as I mentioned before, you could spend much more time in Armenia and get deeper into the country. Thanks very much for watching and see you in the next one. Goodbye.